You are listening to Mining Stock Education.
But then also for the first time in September, we've seen golden rocks now at Opinaca. That's a first for the project. We had a high sample of about 6.7 grams per ton gold. That was from a quartz vein boulder found within that trend line. But we also had about a dozen samples return anomalous values greater than 0.1 gram per ton gold. So very exciting to finally see some golden rocks at Opinaca. We started there last year with just a geochem anomaly that on a regional till sampling program we did originally looking for lithium. Then from the June work, we really tracked that down to the 7-kilometer east-west trend line. Now today, we're finally seeing golden boulders as well.
I'm Bill Powers. This is MSE. Thanks for tuning in. In today's show, you're going to hear an update from Cameron Tymstra. He's the CEO of one of our sponsors, Targa Exploration. Targa has been trying to find the gold bedrock source of a gold till anomaly. What that means is so many years ago, a glacier went over a source of gold and deposited a train of gold shavings across the James Bay region of Quebec. And Targa has been trying to find that bedrock source. Cam, your team's been out in the field. You have a partnership with Kenorland Minerals. Can you please give us an update? You put out some results this morning.
Thanks, Bill. Yeah, happy to. So the results we announced today were the results from the field program we did in September. So we also did some work back in June. We released those results back in August. And basically the plan for September was to go down to our, what we call the gold target trend. That's that 7-kilometer long east-west trend line that we identified from the work in June to do two things. One was to do really the first prospecting program there, looking for gold. Previously, we had not sent our geology team over to that area. So we had a team of about 5 or 6 geologists on the ground for a week. They took over 300 rock samples, mostly boulder samples, but some outcrop samples as well. As you said, it's been glaciated there, so we do have a lot of till covering most of that area. So we do have to rely on a lot of boulder sampling to kind of give us an idea of what the basement rocks look like. And the other part of that program was to do an infill HMC sampling. So that stands for heavy mineral concentrate. So we take about 10 kilogram samples of the till material. We send them to a specialized lab in Ottawa called ODM. And basically they put that material over a shaker table to make a high density concentrate. Then they analyze that concentrate under the microscope and actually count and look for individual gold grains. So it's more than just a geochemical analysis at the lab, like a fire assay. We're actually observing visible gold grains under the microscope and counting those, and also getting a sort of a qualitative analysis of them as well, indicating if they are pristine or somewhat rounded or very rounded. And that can give us some indication on maybe how far those gold particles have traveled. If you think placer gold is very smooth and round because it's been beaten by the rocks in the river. If we're finding gold that's closer to the actual bedrock source, they've got sharper edges, and we consider those to be more pristine. So I'm very excited about the results from both of those components of the program. Previously, the HMC sampling that we did was on like a 1 kilometer by 500 meter spacing. So very, very far spaced apart. And but what we noticed in the original one in June was sort of down ice from this gold trend that we identified. Everywhere down ice from that, we're starting to see elevated gold values. And so the infill till sampling that we did in September confirms that as well. So not only are we seeing a continuation of the higher density sampling along that line, but we're also seeing some of the higher gold grain counts from those samples from September as well. A new sample high, I think, was about 120 gold grains for 1 10-kilogram sample. Previously, the highest we had there was around 35 or 40 grains, I think. So very nice to see that. But then also for the first time in September, we've seen golden rocks now at Opinaca. That's a first for the project. We had a high sample of about 6.7 grams per ton gold. That was from a quartz vein boulder found within that trend line. But we also had about a dozen samples return anomalous values greater than 0.1 gram per ton gold. So very exciting to finally see some golden rocks at Opinaca. We started there last year with just a geochem anomaly that on a regional till sampling program we did originally looking for lithium. Then from the June work, we really tracked that down to the 7-kilometer east-west trend line. Now today, we're finally seeing golden boulders as well.
So the visual gold in a boulder, was the boulder angular and pristine, or was it rounded, meaning it would have been, if it was rounded, it would have been transported a longer distance from the source?
Yeah, so that one high value of 6.7 grams per ton, that would be considered sort of sub-rounded. So it was somewhat rounded, so it may have traveled. It was also a bit smaller in size. Many of the other samples that we have at sort of 0.7, 0.9 grams per ton gold, we can consider sort of more sub-angular, and they were larger boulders as well, so it looked like they had not moved nearly as far. So we're still not sure exactly where they're coming from. Unfortunately, a big area kind of within that gold target trend has a lot of infill till there, and so there's not even a lot of boulders in the area. So there's kind of a bit of a gap in boulder sampling from our program. So we certainly like to get back on the ground, go back in that area, especially considering the sort of 3 of the highest samples that we had were all kind of from a same area in there. So definitely want to get back on the ground and investigate that further.
So now you're working with Kenorland to plan out the next stage of exploration?
Yeah, we'll look forward to planning the next steps for 2025. Almost certainly going to include some geophysics. We don't have any local geophysics done to date on the project, either by us or by others. We just have some regional magnetic data. So likely doing some sort of airborne magnetic data over the target trend, maybe some VLF. We haven't determined yet whether or not we can. We think that IP on the ground would be worthwhile given the mineralization that we're seeing. But we have seen gold in a couple of different lithologies, so we still don't know quite yet what type of gold system we're looking for here at Opinaca. There could be some similarities to things like the Borden deposit or something similar to the Chichu deposit, because we have seen some tonalite intrusives in the area as well. But where some of the gold that we're seeing is in the paranise, sort of altered paranises with sort of small quartz veins running through them. And paranise is one of the dominant lithologies in the area. So that was really nice to see as well.
And how much would the geophysics cost through the winter?
If we were just going to do like a fixed wing mag survey over that target area, it'd be a little over $100,000 Canadian. So pretty low cost. If we wanted to get on the ground and do something like IP, that'd be a lot more expensive. But I think at this stage, we just stick with the airborne geophysics and then plan for another sort of field program on the ground once the snow melts in the early summer.
And that would be May then? Feet on the ground, or late April?
Potentially May. We didn't get there. I mean, all the programs we've done there to date were sort of June to September. So probably somewhere in June for boots on the ground, early June, I would say.
Okay. Is JVing this project an option for you? I know you own it 100%. Kenorland is the operator. They hold a royalty on the property. But what about a JV?
We'll certainly leave all opportunities and doors open at this point in terms of what to do next. Obviously, it's a pretty tough market for gold juniors, ourselves included, in terms of where the market caps are sitting right now. So the exploration programs would be dilutive at these share prices. That's why we're making sure we, do the early stage work first and make sure we cover all the bases there before we start planning a more expensive drill campaign up there. Doesn't make sense to run out and do like a $2 million drill campaign when you're trading at a $4 million market cap. And because if you miss, you're in a lot of trouble. So we want to make sure we do all the early stage work right. Make sure we get our drill targets down before we bring a drill up there. But, a JVing, if there was a company out there that was interested in pursuing and working with us, we'd certainly consider that as an opportunity. You got to be a little bit more creative and transactional in environments like this. So we'd certainly keep those doors open.
So no financing till next spring then? Am I here? I mean, you're assessing your possibilities, obviously. It's a difficult situation. The market is what it is. But you're not necessarily going to top off the Treasury right now is what you're saying then, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're not going to be doing any work right away. Any geophysics work we can kind of do any time of year out there. We obviously just need to do that in advance of putting some boots back on the ground. So we've got some time to consider, what sort of financing we would need for those programs. Cash in the bank, we have about $200,000 in the bank right now to carry us through into the new year. So we're not desperate to do a raise right now, which is good. So yeah, certainly considering some different options there, but certainly not pressured to do anything right away.
Okay, so the next press release then will probably be airborne geophysics announcement, and then maybe more details about the field work, even though the field work now is going to be some months out.
Yeah, certainly once we figure out what the detailed plans are for 2025, an announcement related to that would likely be the next steps from us at Targa.
Okay. Thank you very much, Cam. The website is TargaExploration.com. Again, they're a show sponsor. And the ticker symbol in Canada is TEX. And on the OTCQB, for those in the States, TRGEF. Thank you for this update, Cam.
Thanks, Bill.